It's the Kacee Allen Show.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Kacee Allen. We've got a lot to talk about. Congratulations to President Trump for being the winner of the 2024 election with a landslide against Kamala Harris. We're going to react to what happened with the election. We're going to talk about President Trump's picks. And we're also going to talk about what lies ahead with the next 4 years in the second Trump administration. So as you know, former President Trump won a landslide victory against Vice President Kamala Harris with over 300 electoral votes and decimating the popular vote. I predicted this in the previous episode, as you know. We said that Trump would win both of these, but he could be faced with repercussions in some possible legal disputes that the left could throw at him in the next 2 months before the inauguration process on January 20th. And that specifically includes the 14th Amendment, Section 3, in which it says anyone who has engaged in a rebellion against the country or an insurrection is ineligible and could be disqualified to run for office. They're going to try to use a Civil War clause against Donald Trump when this would take 2/3 of Congress for this to actually approve to be a disqualification of this presidency. When it's very unlikely this will happen, we do know that Congress has a 10% approval rating amongst all Americans. Now, me personally, I do not think this is going to get that 2/3 vote, but I think the left are going to try even more than just Section 3 of the 14th Amendment to take away Trump's presidency. I mean, they've already talked about it. They've made it very clear. Look at what Jamie Raskin has said. They're going to do everything they possibly can to make sure that this is not a clean process. Even though they've said that it will be, I think after this election, we've restored a bit of confidence and faith in our very American people that didn't necessarily have that after we saw what happened in 2020. And that includes myself. After we see this landslide victory, it sends a message that what the mainstream media tried to tell us did not work. It was ineffective. They try to tell you that Donald Trump was a fascist dictator, Nazi, that should not be the next president of the United States. And the American people said, screw you, screw that. We're not believing your lies. That is our guy. Donald Trump will be the 47th president of the United States. Sure enough, it happened. Sure enough, it was a landslide. And sure enough, the mainstream media looked as dumb as ever. No one believes in their lies. They're losing viewership and audience as we speak. Not that it means much, but Chris Wallace even said that he's leaving CNN last night, most likely to go independent. Because the mainstream media is losing in real time. The legacy media, whatever you want to call it, even Fox News. Everybody wants independent conversation. They want real, authentic journalism. And you're not going to get that from the corporate-funded regimes that rely on the money from the military-industrial complex, big pharma, all these weapons manufacturers. Their viewership and their monetization solely requires on big corporate funding and big money funding to give them the platform and the resources that they have. Now, someone like myself will never take that contract, will never buy into that sort of corruption. I've said no to every single deal I've been offered. I've said no to every single corrupt entity, every corrupt person. Trump was able to win so easily because of common sense. This simply came down to wanting to close the border, wanting to open the pipelines that Biden closed down to make gas cheaper, to make everything more affordable, and make crime less than what it is. Trump won because of that. And you can also look at the Latina vote. Trump did very well with Latina and blacks and was a big part of how he won this election in a landslide and took more states than what he did in any previous election. I mean, just look at the map, folks. It is not disputable. President Trump won this because of common sense. And like I said in previous episodes, how can the Democratic Party have the audacity to think they can just roll out a candidate within 3 months and beat Donald Trump, who has had the most powerful political movement in American history for nearly 10 years? Like I said, there's no chance. You have absolutely no chance. They probably would have done better if Biden just ran the entire time. Because how are you, the Democratic Party, respecting a democratic process and a democracy when you don't even let Joe Biden, the person you elect, go through the democratic process? You just remove him and throw in the VP, Kamala Harris. That's not democracy. It's not American. More like communist or socialist ideologies. But from what we've seen, though, it is very possible that Joe Biden could resign before the inauguration process on January 20th. And out of the Democratic Party's pettiness and willingness to make Republicans suffer at any means possible, why wouldn't they just throw in Kamala Harris to be the 47th president when all these Trump supporters have bought all these 47 hats? When Trump is going to be the 47th president, what do they have to lose at this point? I think that they're going to make Kamala Harris the first female president and the 47th president of the United States before the inauguration process, just to make Trump fans mad. I think that's what they're going to do. I mean, what do they have to lose? Like I said, they lost the election fair and square. They admitted that. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure that Trump's presidency and Trump's life is going to be as hard and as miserable as possible until 2028. You already can count on that. I mean, you've seen the reaction from CNN, from the mainstream media. They do not like this at all. They're going to criticize every single thing they can during these next 4 years. But that goes back to their credibility. They don't have it. They're losing it every single second of every single day. And people are more enticed to go to independent media, podcasts, streamers. That's where the viewership is at. They're not getting that from just basic cable television. They lost their credibility a long time ago, and they continue to tell all these lies that everybody knows is not true. And that's why people are coming to platforms like mine, platforms that are not controlled and regulated by corporate regimes that tell you what you can and can't say. I am one of the very few that are doing that. And I can tell you, my friends, if you stay true to yourself and you speak the truth, you will be successful. The people that sell out and take money from Russia and take money from all these companies that tell them what to say, they are not true and they are not authentic, and it will speak and it will say in the future. The people that stay true to themselves and stay 100% authentic to their audience will make it. They will make it. And that's how Kamala Harris lost, and that's why President Trump won, because he stayed true. He was able to go on Joe Rogan for 3 hours. Obviously, it would be tough for Kamala to last 10 minutes on an independent platform that's completely free speech and not regulated like the Joe Rogan experience. That's why she was very careful about where she went and who she talked to. But in reality, this comes down to the future. Obviously, President Trump won. He is set to be the next president of the United States, assuming the inauguration process goes well and nothing is invoked on or disqualified to his ability to be president. He's laid out some very interesting groundworks to his administration. He said that obviously no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and he's picked some cabinet positions that many of you have seen the last couple hours on my feed. Trump has already made some cabinet positions clear. He's got Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem. He's got a lot of establishment figures that have already been in political positions to take a position in his next administration. I agree with some. I disagree with others. I mean, it's kind of back and forth. I think so far what he's taken is more of a I'd say he's in between establishment and America first. He still definitely has the establishment mindset, choosing people like Rubio and Noem. Mike Walls worked with Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld. This guy was a warmonger. He was surrounded by the people that did some very dark things. So that's a very questionable pick. I don't know who came up with that one. But we'll have to see how this next administration goes. I'm very optimistic. I think things are going to go well, especially with the economy, especially with Trump being pro-Bitcoin and wanting to look into other markets. I mean, we've seen Bitcoin go to 89,000 in the last day. So we're seeing a lot of positivity everywhere with Trump being elected. Even the leaders of other countries. I mean, you see China, Xi Jinping says he's happy to work with Trump. Vladimir Putin, he's happy to work with Trump. The president of India, Hungary, Viktor Orban, these guys are ready to work with Trump, and they know that we can actually accomplish a lot on the global scale when you have a true leader in charge. Joe Biden did nothing. He has not contacted or talked to any countries of strategic interest in years. I mean, you talk about Russia, not since 2022. They have their Ukraine money laundering scheme, obviously, but they've also gotten Israel and Palestine to dislike them. Something that hardly anybody could do. I mean, that is pathetic. And Trump obviously could step in and do much more and make things much more effective just by being in office. He's obviously very tight with Bibi Netanyahu. And you're going to see some peace, in my opinion, when Trump takes over that particular part of the world and actually have some influence in what they're doing there. I'm pretty sure that the money that he sent to Gaza went to a port that got destroyed. Yeah, so much that did. I mean, it's ridiculous. Yes, I think we should be optimistic about this next administration, but we should look out for the picks and some of these establishment hacks that could make their way into this administration. I think Trump could be blind to some of that. I think there could be some picks that are, he doesn't necessarily see through. And you obviously have to take into account that Miriam Adelson provided $100 million funding to Trump. You have people like Lee Zeldin and, figures that are known Zionist and Jewish people. So, again, that's fine, but that needs to be known and made clear for this administration. Another thing I want to talk about is Alex Jones. They are shutting down InfoWars within the next 10 hours. InfoWars is currently on air right now with what could be their last broadcast, because once the federal government auctions the company and their studio off to Sandy Hook and whoever chooses to buy it, they're not going to be on air. And hopefully whoever does buy that, and I'm actually praying and talking to every single person that could be doing that, whoever buys InfoWars, make sure you have Alex Jones on air. I think it's only respectful to have Alex Jones, the most truthful voice on air, to stay on air for the very company that he's had for 20 plus years. It is insane that the federal government has ordered him to pay Sandy Hook victims $1 billion when the very person who took out those kids didn't even pay 10% of that amount, or the family didn't. Why is Alex Jones liable for this? This is absolutely insane. This is insane. It's tyranny. And this is something that the federal government has failed the American people on. I've been censored. I've been deplatformed. I know what it's like. I'm sitting here with very few platforms left. I mean, even on TikTok, the one platform that is the 10th largest in the world and can get you the most money. I have 5 accounts, and 4 of them were banned in the last 24 hours with no reason, nothing given, no account violation. They just disappeared. Folks, they want people like myself gone because we are truthful. We are speaking against the corporate powers that exist. the regime that does not want independent thinkers and independent speakers to project their voice. And that's what they're doing to me. They want to take away my voice, and they want to take away my ability to monetize on those platforms.